because you had those wake up moments, that's what led you ultimately to say, you know what, this stops right here. This stops right here. I'm not taking any more of this. This stops. I'm going to figure out the path forward. I'm not going to stop at anything. I'm going to figure this out. And I love the fact that you two, even through the strain that you went through, and I'm sure it was very tense and very stressful, but you got to a point where you were on the same page and you were supporting each other. And a lot of people don't have that, but you got to a point where you were like, you know what? Doesn't matter what we went through. We're going to be on the same page moving forward. We're going to work together. So tell us at that point then, so you committed and you said, okay, I don't care. I'm going to figure this out. What did you do next? Did you turn to books? Did you go online? Did you listen to podcasts? Did you call friends? What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, so I had, and I have a very, specific morning routine of like, people are like, well, how do I change? I'm like, well, it's one day at a time. And so, especially this time of year, we're talking early January, everybody's trying to make 25, 30 different changes. And, by February, much like the gyms that are totally packed right now, those will be empty and most people can't find what it is they committed to. And so we, the changing one day at a time and winning the day, I had to make sure that, as my coach was telling me, he's like, you got an hourglass. It's full of black sand right now, brother. You need to drop just one little piece of gold in there every day. And the one little piece of gold was to make sure that I was getting up and, doing the work of, the reading, the journaling, the reading my Bible, the imaging, the visualization, even if it was 30 minutes, I just, I tell people like they shower every day, they brush their teeth, hopefully every day, they eat every day, but they should go to the mental gym every single day. And so that was a commitment I made. And the way you increase confidence, and I needed it at that time, right? The way you increase confidence is you keep your word to yourself, which is, people can follow me on Instagram. I posted it last Friday before New Year's. And I said, number one goal of 2022, keep my word, right? Do what I say I'm going to do. And then everything else is going to turn out. So that was one. I didn't really talk to friends about it. But I located a coach. I called it a hand of God moment, how I even found him. And he was already wildly financially free and had been for decades because everybody wanted to coach me, but they weren't living the results. Right. So that was
it like a financial coach, a life coach?
I mean, he was all of it. I mean, he passed away in February in his late 80s, but he was the whole package. He was my foxhole buddy. He was somebody I could, confide in. I didn't have one. And, but he helped our relationship. He taught me how to, he said, Chris, you're a great goal setter, but you're a horrible goal achiever. Like he flipped that around on me. He was phenomenal for about 4 years, but he was financially free and had been for decades. And that was the, people like, I want to coach you. I'm like, do you need my money to pay your bills? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm sure you're great, dude, but I need someone that's actually living the results. So that, but I think it was, I wasn't interested in financial independence. I was committed to it. And so then the next thing is, Marlo and I, the concept's called objective reality, and it's the capacity to look at your situation without emotion. And the problem with most people and why 96% of Americans retire broke is they don't want to look at their situation because they don't want to feel bad about themselves. But if you don't look at it, it gets worse. So that was the optimism and delusion I was living in. And so Marlo and I had a weekly meeting and have had it for years where it was, we had to set our number one financial goal. She laid out the bloodiness of our balance sheet, our net worth, our budget, all that. We had to really come to grips with where we were. But then, Annie and Julie, we had to get really, really, really clear on where we wanted to go. And most importantly, we had to develop what's called compelling emotional reasons why. So people that struggle with goal setting think goal setting is a logical thing. The high performers know it's emotional. And so we spent more time on why we wanted to move forward. And those reasons were I never wanted to have another stressful financial conversation with my wife as long as I lived.
I have a question for you, Chris. So, your story reminds me a lot of my story too, where you almost have like a breakthrough, where something really like you get to a place, right? Mentally, financially, emotionally, where you're just like, I am done. No more. I will never come here to this place ever again. I will never find myself in this place. And in a way, it's almost easier for people like you and I to, because we got to that place where it's just like, never again, we will never get there. I will do whatever it takes to get to wherever I'm trying to go. But what about for the people out there? Because I know there are a lot, I talk to them very often, who are like, I want to change. They want to, but it's not a have to or a need to. It's, I want to change. What do you say to those people who are out there who are like, I want to have financial freedom. I want to raise $10 million. I want to do this and I want to do that because it's such mindset, right? But they never went through something that was so devastating or so hard where they're just like got that level of commitment that you and I had, right? And Annie has had as well. How do you talk about that to somebody who comes to you and says, well, I want to be financially free. I want to have a great relationship with my wife or my husband. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I ask because I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs too, and it's it's and I've already said it once. Are you interested? Or are you committed? And most people are totally interested in that.
Yep.
And so what I've been very fortunate to have some just amazing mentorship, and every time I get with them. My left brain CPA wants to get into the tactics and strategies and the processes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they all go to the mindset, but mostly they want to know my compelling emotional reasons and my desire. So when people come to me and they say, hey, I want to do this, I send them away and I'm like, okay, write down your top 10 reasons why. And it's funny, Julie, they come back and sometimes it's 4 or it's 7. And I'm like, no, it's 10. So if you can't, and if I could reach over the computer, I'd produce, my game plan for the year. And in there is where I'm going for the quarter. But in there are my top 10 compelling emotional reasons. Mm-hmm. So if you can't come up with that, I view being an entrepreneur, and you must become an entrepreneur. It's not even optional in my mind for lots of reasons. That could be a whole nother show. But being an entrepreneur is, it's the Maserati. But if there's no fuel in that vehicle, which is your top 10 reasons, your goals, dreams, your aspirations, then the thing's not going to go. And, and it's you guys know who David Goggins is. I mean, he talks about, training Navy SEALs and all the crazy stuff that guy did. If anyone's not listened to Can't Hurt Me, that is like the most insane book. Makes me feel like a pansy every time I listen to it. But
I don't know that book, so now I'm embarrassed.
Oh, sister, you'll freaking love it. Can't Hurt Me. There's some colorful language, almost every other word, but it is the most crazy, crazy, crazy story. And the crazy things that he did physically, that when he wanted to retreat, he always had, Annie, did you listen to it?
No,
Can't Hurt
I
Me.
haven't
David, do you guys know who he is? David Goggins?
No. Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm so embarrassed.
No. You don't need to be embarrassed. He probably has 150,000 likes on what he's a little extreme, but basically this guy he went through BUDS training, SEALs training like 3 times. he got through it on 2 broken legs.
Oh my God.
He's done every ultra crazy. He has the pull up record. He went to Ranger train. Anyway, so it's super entertaining book to listen to.
Okay.
And then do you guys know who Jesse Itzler is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Itzler's married to Sarah Blakely.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Spanx lady. So anyway, Julie, this will tie it all together. He meets David Goggins, and then he had Goggins move in with him for 30 days.
Oh my God.
So there's a book called Living with a Seal that Itzler narrates that is massively entertaining. Anyway, I'm way off topic there, but every time Goggins would be on a 100-mile run, and at mile 70, his brain's like, quit. And this is tying back to your whole thing, right? Because there's a little bit of pain that goes with going to the next level. I had to go through some pain. And every time he wanted to give up, if he could not quickly figure out why he wanted to continue, he would quit. He was trained. He knew what to do. And he said all the SEALs that he's trained, he's got a school that trains them. The ones that come in that look the best are in the best shape, that literally look like they are the deal. They are prepared, but they don't know why. And so when that moment hits, and it's going to hit, and it's like, quit. If you can't quickly come up with your why, you will quit.
Yep.
And so when people come to me and they're like, I want to be wealthy, and all that stuff, and they got no energy on it either, right? They have like no juice. Oh,
totally.
Right. One of my favorite quotes is, if you're juiceless, you're useless. And right. If you're juiceless, you're useless. And if they don't have juice or enthusiasm, and when somebody comes to you and they're like, I'm going to go do this. And you're like, yeah. But 90% of the time you're like, no, you're not.
Yep.
Like there's no conviction in your voice.
Yep.
You're not convincing me. I'm not saying you can't, but you won't.